Genesis chapter 12. Let's take a look and see what we got going for us today. So Abraham, as the Lord had spoken to him, and Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. Verse 5, Then Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother, and all their possessions they had together, and the people whom they acquired at Haran. And they departed to go to the land of Canaan. So they came to the land of Canaan. Abraham passed through the land to the place of Shechem, as far as the terebinth tree of Moreh, and the Canaanites were there in the land. So he's made his way down to Shechem. I think it's fair to say Shechem's kind of the upper middle of the land. I guess if you go way down to the Negev, it's pretty far south. But Shechem, it's north of Jerusalem, not far from Shiloh. Shechem would be Samaria proper, in the times of Jesus. It is in Shechem and Sychar, where you have Mount Gerizim, and you have the woman at the well in John chapter 4. And we'll see a bunch of other stuff take place at Shechem before the end of the book of Genesis, that's for sure. And so the Lord appeared in verse 7 to Abraham and said, To your descendants I will give this land. And he built an altar to the Lord who had appeared to him. Once again, we see God promising Abraham to give the land to his descendants. But Abraham doesn't have any descendants. He doesn't have any kids yet. And I guess that's just a good reminder that God's promises are quite often based on things unseen. We don't see what God is talking about in the moment that he's talking. We don't see what is to come. But we need to believe and trust that God is going to make those things happen. And, we gave a little analogy at church on Sunday. I showed a picture of one of the presidential suites at the St. Regis in Bora Bora. Very nice looking hotel room. I think it's like $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a night. But what we talked about was, if I showed you this hotel room and this beautiful, place to stay and tell you like, hey, I'll pay for you to stay there for a week and you can enjoy it for a whole week. Or down the road, I'll buy you a house, a large house that's yours to keep forever. And what's tough is that sometimes when we see Bora Bora right in front of us, that's what we seek after. Because I can see it, it's right there, it's immediately in front of me. And this promise of a house that's coming on down the road, I can't see the house yet, and I mean it's not right here, right now, and quite often we'll trade off the permanent thing for something that's temporary and really not as great in comparison, though it seems great at the time. But we have to trust in the things that we can't see. And that's where it gets hard, because much of the Bible, we are believing in promises of things that we don't see. In Hebrews chapter 11, in verse 1, we get that great description of faith. It's not necessarily a definition, but it's a description. It describes a little bit about what faith is supposed to be. Hebrews 11:1 says, Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So the idea is that faith is the foundation. The substance is the hypostasis. It literally is the words like under and stand upon. So it's that which you stand upon, the thing that's under you that you're standing on. You're resting on it. You're building your foundation from this. And so there's this faith. It's the foundation that I build upon. And it talks about the evidence of things not seen. And so that word evidence, it actually means like a confidence or a proof that God is showing us stuff that should be evidence so that I can then build upon the rest of God's promises. He's made it clear and evident in all these different ways that he is trustworthy and that when he says something, it comes to pass. But then I have to put my faith on the ones I don't get to see. You know, I used the example once with some of my students. We were talking about faith and believing in the Bible and trusting God. And I said, you know, if I took 6 decks of cards, right, and I shuffled all 6 decks together, I had one of those Vegas shufflers, you know, for the blackjack table. Now I've got 6 decks of cards here. We're just going to set this deck of cards down. And I say 7 of diamonds, and I flip it, and it's a 7 of diamonds. Jack of spades. There's the Jack of spades. Ace of hearts. There's the Ace of hearts. And I just keep showing you these cards, calling them off before you see them. What if I do this 100 times? That's almost 2 full decks of cards right there, right? 100 times, I tell you, it's going to be the 7 of clubs. 7 of clubs. It's going to be the 2 of hearts. 2 of hearts. Now, have I established myself? I mean, 100 straight, flawless, prophetic callings of the cards. But then the hard part is that I'm going to take the other, 400 so odd cards that are left. I'm going to hand them to you, and I'm saying, and now you just need to trust that I know the other cards too. There's the idea of your faith. It's not a blind faith, as people so often accuse us of. Oh, well, Christians or whatever, religion and blind faith. It's not blind. It's actually based off of a God who has faithfully prophesied the future numerous times in the past and has never failed at it. It's a God who has shown me individually, and probably you too, how he can work in miraculous ways. And so then, when he tells us things like to pray, to make your requests be known to God, and the peace that surpasses understanding will guard your hearts and your mind, well, then I have to have faith that he is able to give me the peace that surpasses understanding, even though right now I can't imagine having such a peace. When God says he works all things to the good, I have to look at all the cards he's already called right and say, okay, I guess he can get this one too. And when he tells Abraham, hey, I'm giving this land to your descendants. Abraham, the father of faith, he trusted that God could provide those descendants. And so, are you living by faith? Quite often, we still measure things in the ways that we think and see. We, well, I can't, do this or I can't do that because of this or because of that. Quite often, because of our lack of faith, our overall relationship and intimacy with God struggles. I will challenge you, as I think was just even part of yesterday's on my heart, about the need for us to develop our intimacy, because you can't trust in a God you don't know, and you can't know a God you don't spend time with. So do you have faith that if you wake up earlier, God will provide you with the strength and the energy needed to face the day because you chose in faith to wake up to be with him? If you decide to show up to a night service at church or home fellowship or Bible study or whatever, do you have faith that God can provide for you even though you might get half an hour less sleep than normal? But that's the kind of stuff. It's when we seek him and we seek fellowship and we seek the things that the Bible tells us, this is what you got to do. If you want to have that strong relationship with the Lord and strong faith that is being built up and grown, you have to have faith that God can provide. So, he's shown enough evidence for us to trust that the rest is true. So as you face these challenges, you have to ask yourself, do I have faith that God can provide, that God can make happen what I don't see or what I don't feel like is able to happen? That's faith. Looking at what he's provided so far and trusting him for the rest. God bless you guys. Have an amazing day. Men's Bible study tonight, 7 p.m. at Revival Church. Send your men our way. God bless you guys.